Today we're going to talk about the drum sander. This is the Laguna 1632 Supermax. It is a very nice tool and something that is a luxury in most shops. So it is a drum sander, and the purpose of a drum sander is to give a finished flat surface. It is not to plane the surface. That's what a planer for, or is not to flatten a surface. It is expecting a surface that is already flat, and all you're doing is making it smooth on top of that. It's to keep you from having to do a lot of hand sanding or things like that. I think that's a common misconception when people use this tool. They think that they can take something in and then really crank down on it and really flatten it. It is not good for that. In fact, we see on the label, it actually says that a quarter turn equals 1/64th of an inch. This is not a wood removal tool. This is a wood finishing tool. I can't stress this enough. When you try to really take a lot of wood out of it, you put a lot of stress on the motor, you put a lot of stress on your wood and on the sandpaper. And how that shows itself is with burning. So if you see burning on the wood, if you see stripes of black or brown, then you know you're burning and you know you're taking off too much. And it may seem like you're not taking off a whole lot, but it really truly is. So I can't stress enough. You need to learn to set this tool appropriately, and then it will give you beautiful results. It'll give you almost a glass-like finish if you use it appropriately. And today I'm going to show you how we're going to use it appropriately. Okay? So, how I set the tool is a pretty manual process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the top so that I can see the drum spinning. And I'm going to spin the drum with my hand, and I'm going to crank this up until my wood can go underneath it. So my wood's underneath it, and I'm going to start spinning the drum with my hand, and I'm going to start cranking down or lowering the drum down, and I'm going to lower it until it just touches the wood. There we go, just like that. So now it's stuck, right? And now I'm going to raise it up until I can spin, even if I'm feeling a little bit of pressure on the wood. I'm going to bring it up a little bit more, and that's about where we're going to do it. Then we're going to close it up. I'm going to turn on my speed, and I'm going to run my wood through. All right. And now I'm going to stop it. So when I'm doing a piece of wood like this, speed is not necessarily an issue for me, although you don't want to go too slow because you don't want to generate a lot of heat on the wood, but you don't want to go too fast. So as a rule of thumb, I set it at 60. That's a pretty good place to start and see, is it too fast? Is it too slow? There's a little red light on here, and if it's doing too much, the red light will come on. It will correct a little bit, but not a whole lot. So if you see that red light come on, you want to back the speed down or maybe even crank up the space because you're too tight on the drum. Always, always, always want to use dust collection on it. So we're going to turn the dust collector on. I'm going to turn my belt on to 60%, and then I'm going to use the red switch to turn on my drum. Now everything is running. I put it through. It sounds good, no red light, and no burn marks on it. So I know that I'm doing it right. I can feel that it's a little bit better. I run it 2 passes through like this. And you can see on the second pass, it's kind of barely going through. Or barely sanding, I should say. And now I'm going to crank it down a quarter turn. I'm going to run it through again. Still no red light. No burn marks on the back. Things are good. And I would continue that process until I reach my desired finish of the board. Now, obviously, a wider board is going to take up a lot more energy from the drum, and you're going to hear it grind down a little bit more. But you can't see this on camera, but boy, that is just a beautiful, beautiful finish on that piece of wood. Here's the next tip for you, is that if you're sanding a piece of wood that is wider than the drum sander is, that can accommodate that. That's the 1632 that goes across there. So it's 16 inches wide, so it can hit a board that is 16 inches wide in one pass, or up to 32 inches if you put the board through once, spin it, and put it through a second time. Now, if you just do that when the drum sander is set up, you're going to get a line right through the middle of it, right where the drums and the sandpaper ends. That's an undesirable effect. To get rid of that, they've built in a feature. You loosen up the two bolts on the side. This like that. You take your pair of pliers and there's a rod that is flat on one side and round on the other. And you're just going to rotate that rod until it's sitting on the round. And then I'm going to tighten this back down again. When I do that, what happens is I'm actually taking this drum head and I'm tilting it up like this. I'm actually giving it a little bit of a cant to it, so that as the wood goes through, it's going to be a tighter fit on this end than it is on this end, and it's going to give you a nice smooth transition. When you rotate, it's going to do the other thing, so the other direction, and in the middle, it's going to work out because you're passing over twice the middle than just once on each side. So again, this is a great, wonderful tool. It is a luxury to have, but it has to be treated with respect. And that means do not try to take off too much wood at one time. It's always better to take off less than you think you should be. Never crank more than a quarter turn on this, so that's 1/64 of an inch. Always run the wood past 2 times, and you should be good to go. Also, always use dust collection. All right, that is the Supermax 1632 drum sander. Enjoy it.